Last time we're in Perek Yutes in the Chelkei HaChasidus, and last time the Mesilas Yesharim discussed with us the concept of being mechabe to Sefer Torah and Kisvei Kodesh, and we spoke a little bit about loving our Gemara and about having a connection with our Svarim, our Sidurim, and so on. Ubechlal zeh, says the Mesilas Yesharim in the bottom, the beginning of the last paragraph on page Tzadi Tes, Ubechlal zeh hanikoyon v'hatahara, the cleanliness and right at the bottom, cleanliness and purity. Hatzricha ledivrei Torah. Okay, we have to create an environment that honors divrei Torah. Shaloi la'asok ba afilu behirher, not to be osik the Torah even in thought. B'mekayimos hametunafim, in places that are dirty. Walk in the street, you have to be careful. You have to be alert to where you're walking if you're talking and learning or thinking and learning. And of course you are, so you have to be on alert. V'lo biyodayim she'einam nekiyos, and not with hands that are not clean. Ukvar hirbu chachomenu zuchaynu levracha lahazir al zeh b'mekayimos rabim, and Chazal were marbe to be mazhir about this in many places. So first of all, this is just practically, halachically, it's important to know that people don't realize this, and you get into bad habits when you're younger. So let's just clarify. Any part of your body that's usually covered, if you touch that part of your body, you should wash your hands before you continue learning. If it's if the Evid, you could clean your hands b'chol midi de manki, with anything that cleans. You could use your jacket or the table. People say, whatever it is. You can clean your hands, but l'chatchila, you should wash your hands. And that means also scratching your head. If you scratch your head, you should wash your hands. That's why you'll see a lot of times Talmidei Chachamim will go like this with their yarmulke to scratch their head, because they don't want to have to wash their hands. Scratching is anywhere, touching is under the kippah. Okay? That's the way it goes. So it's something to be careful about, and it's part of the Maila of Talmud Torah. It's part of the and it should, and keeping these halachas gives us a sense that we're learning something special. We're doing something special. But I want to expand this concept just to explain something which is a chizuk for me, and I want to share that with you. Okay, the nikiyos is in the area that you're in, and then he goes to the nikiyos of the guf itself. There's nothing besides the Talmud Torah that, like, in order for you to study it, you need to be clean. You could study any subject, not having taken a shower in a week, and with your hands dirty. It's not a problem. But when it comes to Talmud Torah, there's a mahalach of cleanliness, a mahalach of at least mitzad the yodayim, to be mechabed. And to me, that's a chizuk just to recognize how precious it is that we get to learn Torah, that we're really learning something that's higher than ourselves. It's really bigger than ourselves. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu honors us by allowing us to learn Torah. And when we wash our hands in order to learn Torah, when we make sure that our hands stay naki, we should recognize that we're being honored with this Talmud Torah. But it goes much deeper than that. We recognize in ourselves that our neshama and our body is not always on the same page. Right? Sometimes our neshama always wants to grow and to steig and to learn Torah and so on, and our body is not always so focused on aliyah. Sometimes it's involved in physical things. Sometimes we get this. Our body gets distracted from various desires and pulls and impulses and so on. And when that happens, so we sometimes feel not worthy of learning Torah. You ever have that feeling? I feel like Torah is not for me. We're not worthy of davening. I've had more than once over the last 20, 25 years where Talmidim would come over and say, I don't feel like I should daven. I did something bad last night. I don't feel like I should daven. Hashem certainly doesn't want to hear from me today. And I always respond the same way, that go to the Shulchan Aruch, open it up, and find me where it says in halacha, Misha over Aveira Balayla lo yispalel vayayim. Find me where it says that Aveira halacha. Does it? No such halacha. I'm happy to clarify for you that there is no such halacha. It says that nowhere. It does not say that someone did an Aveira Balayla should not learn Torah, or should not daven vayayim. What does that tell you? What that tells you is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is interested in hearing from you even when you made mistakes. Even when you failed in Isayan, or you think you failed. Even when you're in a tough spot, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't get insulted. We think that sometimes, right? Like, I did such a bad thing yesterday, Hashem must be insulted. Hashem doesn't get insulted. Hashem just loves us. And if we fell yesterday, so the fall of yesterday is something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sad with us. Because we're sad. If we weren't sad, then maybe we could elicit some anger from Hashem. But we're sad. And if we're sad, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sad with us. One of the great Balei Musar said that it's Einoi Doime, someone who does an Aveira, to someone who does an Aveira with a krechts. You know what a krechts is? Krechts is like a groan, like ay. When we do Averas, we do them with many krechts, right? We I don't mean at the time, but when the Avera is over, we're like, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why did I watch that? Why did I go there? Why did I not do that? Why did I skip that? Why did I? We're not proud of it. So we're sad, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sad with us. And he invites us to continue the conversation with him. He wants us to talk to him. It goes so far that the Gemara says in Bracha is one of the most beautiful. I don't like to measure most beautiful Gemaras. One of the Gemaras that feel the most beautiful to me. And the Gemara says that there was a Talmud who came to yeshiva, and he was being megamgem v'kairei. He was like stuttering or hesitant in his learning, and his Rebbe noticed and realized that the reason was because he was a balkeri, because he experienced that shechva zera came out of him the night before, and he was a balkeri, and he felt dirty, he felt tameh, he felt unworthy to learn Torah. Understandably, Torah, you have to wash your hands before you learn Torah. And the Rebbe said to the Talmud these words, which you can never forget. And the words are, Psach picha, open your mouth. V'yo'iru devarecha, and let your words shine light. She'ein divrei Torah mekablen tumah. The words of Torah are not makabel tumah. So that means that no matter who we are, we have the ability to learn Torah. Now you might think that this means that our bodies have nothing to do with our Talmud Torah. Maybe Talmud Torah happens in the seichel, and therefore there's no problem. I could defile my body, and my seichel can learn Torah. But today's Mesilas Yesharim tells us otherwise. Today's Mesilas Yesharim tells us that when we learn Torah, we should wash our hands. We should make sure we're in a clean area, because our bodies do participate when we learn Torah. And still HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I want to hear your Torah. She'ein divrei Torah makabel and tumah. The words of Torah aren't makabel tumah. Why do you think the words of Torah are not makabel tumah? You think they're not makabel tumah because they're so far away from us that they're not makabel tumah? I think people might think that. Like, I'm tameh, but when I learn Torah, just because I'm thinking Torah, doesn't make the words of Torah makabel tumah. What a mistake. This Mesilas Yesharim shows that it's a mistake. Of course our bodies are affected when we learn Torah. You know why Divrei Torah is not makabel tumah? I'll tell you why. Is a mikvah makabel tumah? 100 tamei people go to the mikvah. Does the 101st become tamei? Because 100 tamei people touch the mikvah. No, why not? Because the source of purity can't become defiled. Mikveh is the source of tahara. The source of tahara cannot become defiled. And that's the same thing with Torah. Torah is the source. The Rambam calls a person engaging deeply in Talmud Torah. The Rambam calls it Toivel Atzmai B'mei Hadas, that he's Toivel himself in the waters of Das. What an opportunity! So it's something for us to think about. Of course, we're mechabed. Of course, we try to be mechabed Hashem, that we should not do averas, and that we should try to be as pure and do tshuva if we make a mistake, to do tshuva and so on. And we also try to honor the Torah by making sure that the area that we're learning in is clean, and it's mesuder, and it's respectful of the Torah that we're learning, and that we're dressed properly, and so on and so on, that we act in a way that's appropriate to the Talmud Torah. We wash our hands if our hands are dirty, if we touched the covered place, or if we scratched our heads, or we just woke up in the morning, or we woke up from a nap on Shabbos afternoon. We wash our hands before we learn Torah, and then we sit down to learn Torah with a sense of being elevated. Not that the Torah doesn't affect us, but we're elevated into the presence of Hashem, and we learn Torah just like a tameh goes to the mikveh and is not afraid that the mikveh is going to become tameh. That's not the worry. So too, we engage in Talmud Torah, and that's why it's so important for us. There's nothing. If we learn the Nefesh HaChaims about Torah, Bisman Hazeh, we don't have karbanos. We're not able. Rabbi say there used to be such a thing when people did averas, they would fast, they would do something called sigufim, they would hurt themselves, they would roll in the snow in order to be mechaper on their averas. Our Rabbeim have taught us that is not an appropriate approach to dealing with averas. We're not misagef ourselves. We do not make ourselves uncomfortable. We are not strong enough for that. So we don't go and take, jump into the ice. If you want to take an ice bath because you're following the new craze of doing ice baths, you're welcome to do that. But not to be mechaper on averas. And we don't torture ourselves. We don't deprive ourselves of sleep or of food. We live fully in the physical world, taking good care of ourselves. So, and the reason is because we wouldn't be able to be soivel otherwise. When we fast, the idea of fasting is to be removed from the physical world. I bet I'm not alone in saying that when I fast, all I could think about is the physical world. All I think about is food. It's when I eat that I could not think about food. When I eat and I'm good and I'm settled, then I can go on thinking about other things. But when I'm hungry, it's very hard to do that. We don't live in a world where we could have kaparas that way. So we don't have the para aduma, and we don't have karbanos, and we don't even have being mechaper ourselves. What do we have to be able to purify ourselves? You know what we have? We have one thing that's really the most powerful thing of all, and that's Talmud Torah. You're going to sit down today and learn a sugya with a Tosfos and a Marsha, and you will end the day purer than you started, because you were toivel b'mei hadas, because you allowed yourself to get caught up in the world of Torah, and it is a mitaher. It was an unbelievable thing. So I think it's exciting to be able to take a few words of a Mesilas Yesharim about cleanliness in Talmud Torah to truly appreciate the unbelievable opportunity that we have in Talmud Torah. Let's learn the sugya, the bottom of Tezvav Amabez, the top of Tezayin and Aleph.